Sean Hamel here with another episode of the Origins Podcast. Today I have a very special guest, Miss Lana Rivera from NMG Consulting, which I always remember the No Me Gusta, NMG Consulting. Been in dentistry for quite a while. We got connected through the ADMC crew and really enjoyed our talks. Obviously, you live in one of the prettiest parts of the country too, so I was super jealous about that. You were telling me all kinds of stories about surviving hurricanes and how it's not that big of a deal. We've talked about all kinds of stuff through our brief tenure of friendship, even though we've known each other on the digital spaces and Facebook and stuff for a long time. But thank you so much for coming on. It's awesome to have you on the show.
Thanks, Sean. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So I know we were actually just talking about the fact that you've been in dentistry since early 2000s, which is a long time ago. It doesn't feel like that long ago.
Yeah.
And of course, like we were just saying, the music was way better back then. But how did you get started in dental? What was kind of your path into dentistry? Again, I know you started really young. So how did dentistry kind of find you at such a young age?
That's an interesting question. So I actually wanted to be a dental assistant originally. Didn't have any formal training. I had friends that were in dentistry and I couldn't find an office that was willing to train me. So I actually found a dental lab and I started in a dental lab learning the prosthetic side and assisted when it came to making crowns and bridges and whatnot. And that was kind of the beginning introduction. And I just loved how detail oriented it was and became assistant manager from there and kind of slowly trekked my way into the dental office. I was determined. I was like, I'm getting in one way or another. Yeah.
And so with kind of working your way up in an office, obviously as a consultant, that's really a unique background in terms of very much coming in at an entry level point. Where do you think consulting like NMG, where did that all come into existence along that journey of you kind of moving up the ladder? Did you just kind of realize you were naturally a problem solver, or did people ask you to consult with them? Like, how did you get into the consulting world?
It actually took me a little while to figure out what I was really good at. So I worked within the dental lab for a year plus, something of that nature. And then I went on to oral surgery and learned a lot about dental implants, right? And extractions and all of, the things that go into affecting one's life. Then from there, I went into general dentistry and I began to see a pattern when it came to just business structure in general, that I love culture. I love working with teams. I love kind of a driving force behind it. And I love educating. I enjoyed educating patients. And so I'm a why person. The more that I understand why, the better I can teach whoever it is that I need to teach, whether it be a patient, team members, what have you. And so I would say probably halfway into my journey into the dental practices is when I realized I really like this. I really like structure. I really like having a positive impact in team members and doctors not stressed out beyond reason. So halfway through is when I began to say, you know what, I think I might be able to do this at some point in time before I made the jump. Yeah.
What was kind of your rosebud moment? What was the catalyst where you finally did take the jump? Because I meet a lot of people that are interested maybe in consulting or whatever, but they never take the leap, or they don't think that they can actually do it. What was it that kind of set you over the edge where you took the leap?
That's a funny question. I felt like I hit a glass ceiling, and I felt like every single office that I had worked in for a number of years, I had taken it to a point and there was a level of, I guess, complacency. Doctors didn't want to do more. I just felt like I couldn't progress beyond what I knew the practice was capable of for internal reasons. And so I was working in a maxillofacial surgeon's office and dealing with cancer patients. And I had learned so much when it came to oral systemic health in that manner. We had taken that practice above and beyond for a single provider, what anybody thought was realistic when it came to production and collections. And I think I was at that brave enough moment of, I have worked in so many different sectors of dentistry and understand it fundamentally, that I felt like I had everything I needed to be able to go out on my own and have that confidence. And largely, I would say it was confidence and trust that I always say, I believe in sink or swim, and Lana does not sink. So I just needed that last little bit of confidence to do it.
You can't sink. It's against hurricane protocol. You're not
That's
allowed to
right.
sink.
That's right.
That's I think that's a Florida thing.
It
And
is.
that's so cool. So did you kind of always have this just personality trait of being able to do the structure thing, being able to do the systems thing, or did that kind of develop as you were in practice?
I think that I sharpened my skills as I came into practice, right? So I am very big on like personality tests and whatnot. And
Mhm.
one of my top five is individualization. So I extract information from each individual person and I figure out what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, how do they like to be spoken to, what gets a good reaction, what gets a bad reaction, and begin to implement from there. So I would say that as I went on in my career, I worked with different people, different age groups, different backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, right? It just
Mhm.
sharpened my ability to tailor my systems to be more effective.
And are there any books or anything that you would recommend maybe to a doctor that's kind of getting interested in maybe some more structure? And it seems like, and obviously I would love your feedback on this, but it seems like dentists can often feel like something's off, but they don't know exactly what's off. And it seems like there's kind of like consultant fatigue almost, like it's just a
Mm-hmm.
perpetual cycle of hiring consultants, but the problems kind of remain. Do you feel that way at all? Is there like an identifying thing maybe that you see in a practice where you're like, hey, it's time to have somebody like me come in and help you out?
I think oftentimes it's about when working with consultants, it's about asking the right questions. And sometimes we don't know what questions to ask specifically. So it is a little bit of a trial and error type of thing. But I will say that there are a lot of consultants out there that kind of blanket their approach. This is what
Mhm.
you do and this is how you do it. And it's almost a one size fits all, but that's not the case. General dentistry may be general dentistry, but each and every person inside the team and each and every owner is different. And so it's really important to have somebody who has the ability to kind of hone in on yourself and hone in on your team to help avoid that. One of the questions that you had just asked me, books,
Mhm.
I think understanding, well, number one, understanding that in dentistry, you don't go to school to run a business.
Mhm.
You go to school to diagnose, to treat patient care, right? That is your central focus. And so I hear a lot of doctors kind of talk down on themselves. Like, well, I don't know anything about this. Well, I don't know anything about this. Well, my friend, you are inside your jar. You can't see the ingredients on your own label. That's not what you went to school for. You didn't get a master's
Mhm.
in business, right? And so I think that having somebody helping them see the ingredients on their label and help guiding them in a way that's responsive. I learned that technique. I read this book so long ago, no one ever talks about it anymore. It's called The Servant, and it's a leadership book, and it's all based on listening, right? Which sounds, we all hear that, right? You got to listen more. You listen with your mouth
Mhm.
closed. But The Servant, that book kind of helped me sharpen and hone in also my skills when it came to the ability to hear what each individual was saying. And that's so hard as a doctor because they have so much responsibility on their shoulders. Like, I'm always like, give yourself some slack, give yourself some grace. It's okay. Yeah.
Mhm. That's a really awesome perspective, and I'll have to check that book out too. Do you happen to remember who wrote that book? I guess I could just
No,
Google it.
but
Or Chat GPT it.
it's a blue link. Yeah. Chat GPT. It's an
Chat
older
GPT.
book. I've had, several managers that are client, the offices are clients of mine that are struggling with their role as an office
Mhm.
manager, right? Everybody's idea of what that definition means is something different. So I've
Mhm.
had some people read that and get an idea of what it means to be an effective leader and
Nice.
servitude. So yeah. So
Very
yeah.
cool. So NMG, when did NMG come into existence? How did it come into existence? And I love the name because you told me it stands for No Me Gusta, which is awesome, and that's how like I literally remember you every single time. How did that come into being? Where did like, hey, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to fully do this versus having just a few side clients? Because I mean, you're involved with ADMC, you're doing all
Yeah.
kinds of things, you're going to all the major events. So, what was kind of the genesis of NMG coming into existence?
Well, in a previous life, I was married to a Spanish man, and his family didn't speak any English, and so and every time I see the grandfather, he was always saying, what he didn't like, right? No me gusta. Like he hated the house, he hated the jungle, he hated the baseball, he hated this. And so my previous life had said, Lana, like every single time you go to a different office, you're working on all the things that they don't like. And so it was a combined effort of no me gusta. So I create practice solutions for things that you don't like, no me gusta. So, and I loved
props to
it.
Grandpa. Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you. I loved it. And I went, when I settled on that name, before I was even ready to take my left turn and go out on my own, I created the LLC and did all the things that I needed to do to preserve it because nobody could have it. It was mine.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And what is it? I mean, there's so many things in talking to you, and we've had conversations obviously offline, but there are so many consultants now, but it seems like your approach and even your connection with the doctors that you work with is different. And I'm just curious, like, where do you think that comes from? Because it does seem like you have a very involved relationship. Your doctors see good results, but they're also very loyal. They speak very highly of you. What do you think it is about your approach that's resonating as much as it is with the practices that you're working with?
I'm a relationship builder. So I'm very big on just my kind of who I am fundamentally as a person. I have to love what I do. That comes down to the coffee machine that I make, right? And so obviously people get into dentistry for a reason. Why are you in dentistry? If you've lost your love for that, let's rediscover it, right? What drew you initially to that? And so I think the fact that I'm very personable, I've had a lot of experience, I've had a lot of knowledge when it comes to different things that they're facing. Listening to them and helping them find that joy again, I think is what has significantly helped me kind of set myself apart in that way. Like you said, I've got some loyal ones and I appreciate I appreciate not only their business, but their relationship, and we're friends.
We're friends. We're buddies.
Yeah. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
And how did you get into mentoring consultants? So ADMC, big time rep there, right? How did you get involved with the ADMC crew? Where did that correlation come into being?
That happened. Another ADMC member. I was kind of laying low. I'm an introvert. I'm like in my little safe space over here in my zone. And one of my member, Manal Sampat, was like, put a word out for me. And she was like, you need to get out there. You need to get out there. You need to get out there. And so she was giving me the gentle push for me, and then behind closed doors. So I had the opportunity open up to become a board member. And that was really exciting. I was really thrilled to take that on. And I love making a difference ultimately. So if I have the ability to make a difference in my client's life or an employee's life, my own employees, my family, or a fellow colleague, I mean, why not? The world needs more help. The world needs more honest support. So that's how I got into it.
That's awesome. And any consultants or anybody, there's a variety of people that have kind of latched on to these Origins podcasts. I think people just like hearing and knowing where people come from. But what have you seen just as a board member with ADMC in terms of how it transforms or helps people? How's it helped you? What are some of the benefits you think being a part of ADMC has given you as a consultant, as an entrepreneur, and just being in the dental industry?
It's definitely helped me with connections. I'll never forget the very first ADMC that I went to. And again, introvert. It was right after COVID. I was like, this is a closed in room with a lot of people. Don't know how I feel about this. These are all people I don't know. Right. And everyone was so warm, so kind, and willing to help. And I like that it's a smaller group of people, smaller group of professionals, and they all come from different walks of life. So it's not somebody that has my exact same experience. Right. We've got people that are part of CPA firms. We've got people that are more into like the public speaking side. You know, we have people who are into like financially setting up dentists. So I felt that group really benefited my ability to continue to support my clients. And then on top of that, we have great partners or vendors, if you will, whatever word you prefer, where we get a more intimate relationship. Again, here I am on the relationship side, where we get to meet those key people. And like I said, I felt like not only the members themselves are willing to help, and I learned so much, but the organization with the partners, it just, not only did it benefit me and help me grow, it benefits my clients and it helps have a more trustworthy relationship with clients.
That's awesome. And anybody watching that wants to learn more about ADMC, I will put links to their resources in the show notes, but it's admc.net, I believe is the website. Feel free to check it out. It's a very cool organization. Awesome group over there. Lana, what's next? Like, where are you going? What's next for NMG? Where are you going to be? Like, what's kind of next for the rest of this year and kind of into the future for you and for NMG?
Next, I will be at CDA next week in Anaheim. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'll be attending AAPD, just networking, walking the floors. I will be speaking at CE on the beach in Cayman Islands. That's very exciting. That's just very cool. In my little neighborhood.
In my neighborhood.
In my neighborhood. Just a hop, skip, and jump away over the pond. I'll be speaking at ADMC in October. That's in Tampa. You're coming, right, Sean?
Yes, I will be there.
Yes, you will be there.
Well, and pending hurricane disaster, yes, I will be there.
It'll be fine. We got you.
It'll be fine. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of the gist of it. Breaking into the speaking, I feel like that's my next area of opportunity to educate and motivate people. Just kind of fits with what I like to do. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on.
That's awesome. How do people get a hold of you if they want to reach out, learn more about your consulting services, anything like that? How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
There's a chat option. If you go to nmgpracticesolutions.com, you can chat with me there, or you can reach out through Facebook. You can also message me through Facebook on NMG Practice Solutions page.
I think that's the way we communicate most, is probably Facebook Messenger. I Facebook Messenger everybody.
Yes.
I hate Facebook, but the Messenger is quite handy.
I agree.
But yeah. Well, Lana, thank you so much for doing the show. I always like to keep these super brief and super informative, but it's awesome to have you on. Hopefully we'll have you on again. And everybody, if you want, again, reach out to Lana. She is awesome. She can give you some really great perspective on your practice, on your team, relationships, systems, all those things that we all struggle with, including me. I'm not a systems person. So I'm glad that there's people like you in the world that can help build systems. But Lana, thank you so much for doing the show.
Thanks, Sean.